Very good, Carl.
Just hang on a minute, Roger. Let me talk a minute.
Rude.
Just because Andy saves lives, right? And he does a lot more to sort of keep people drowning themselves on Morecambe Bay sands and sort of all the rest of it. It's just like don't overplay it. He doesn't need the ego. Okay.
It's not Morecambe Bay, Carl, is it? That's too far south, I would thought.
It's not. It's all the same doodah, the Duddon estuary, whatever. It's all French, So
as a sideline to that, Carl, my first memory of Morecambe Bay, which I think came from the television.
Oh, hang on, I've got one. If you're going to do a memory, I'm doing a memory. You do yours first.
With donkeys on Morecambe Bay, I think that's one of the first areas they actually had donkeys for the general public to ride.
Blackpool, I think maybe Blackpool was first.
Hang on a minute, you're not part of this conversation, Margaret. It's me and Will, right? So I can outdo George on this one, right? I can outdo George, right? Roger, shut up. Right, I can outdo George now, and my family, right? My grandmother's family on my mum's side, right, was the Baxter family, right? Except the father of my grandmother, right? He was illegitimate, right? Oh. So the claim on the Baxter family fortune, the Baxter Sig family fortune, right? We never ever worked that out. Now, Morecambe Bay, my family, as Andy had a shrimp trawler, right? And the shop that my family originally set up years and years ago in Morecambe is still going, and you can get those little things of shrimp, right? And that's a fact.
Oh, very good.
Oh, everyone shut up now.
I don't want any fruit.
Roger, just Roger, just because you look like Gorbachev, it's not my problem, right? And
yes. Well, that disappears and say, now what?
Roger, shut up. And
what?
Yeah. I have nothing to add today.
Oh, well, I made all that effort for you to talk. You can't be bothered to tell us anything.
I know. It's terrible. I should have been prepared. I shall have to prepare something each week.
Oh, Anne. Oh, no.
Who asked you to talk, Margaret? Right. Anything you want to say, Trina?
Yes, I found something about the people that lived millions of years ago. They didn't adapt. They adapted their tools to cope with the changing temperature, whatever. They didn't adapt, they adapted the tools. Is that possible? It's on BBC, so it must be true.
There's a joke. They say Keir Starmer's a tool, don't they? So I think that's sort of there. Right. So what you're saying is that what you're saying is that it's more an evolution of fitting in with your instruments and so on to fit with conditions rather than the increase of your brain activity. I think that's what
yes, I think that's what they're saying. Yeah.
What we've got some hominids, their brain capacities not changed, right? However, it's also if you're a biological anthropologist, you will also know that we use only 10% of our brains. So if you've got a small brain, if you're using that brain to capacity, you could equally be as intelligent as a modern day human, right? So I think that's the point they were trying to make. And don't worry, Will, I'll bring him in. Admit he's admitted, job done. He's there. Andy, we love him. Right. Hello. Now, Andy, it's been an absolute nightmare tonight. It's been a nightmare.
No, it hasn't.
I've been playing with an helicopter.
Hang on a minute. Look, they're so competitive tonight. I've got so much to tell you, right? I haven't even started. Roger, do you want to say something? Go on, Rog.
What? No.
Have you noticed when Roger's got an opportunity to say something, he don't say a word?
No, so there's no.
I don't always hear you because you're so fast.
There's no challenge there.
As good as they were,
I'm struggling with this. You're all cramping my style, including Margaret. Right, Margaret, anything you want to say?
Well, I've just been reading about a Mesolithic site that's been discovered in Ireland.
Ooh. Ireland?
In Ireland. An 8,000-year-old Mesolithic settlement site in
Derry Connolly.
Derry, County Fermanagh, Northern Ireland.
Got it.
Yeah.
See, I was on the ball.
Have you
Yeah.
seen it?
We did it the other week.
Oh, beggar.
Yeah, because you've been away for the past month, right? You've missed everything. Do you know what I mean? But
She might have seen something else though.
hang on a minute. Hang on. I'm the tutor here, not you. Right,
That's
go
all
and
right.
see anything you want to tell us about this, Anne. Margaret. Oh, for God's sake.
Well, they were initially looking for the remains of a 400-year-old castle.
They were.
So you've been there and done it then?
Well, hang on a minute. With all due respect, at least she's been doing her homework, right?
I was a bit excited, I have to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
it
good
is
site.
exciting. It's a good site, and what it is, it obviously pushes the boundaries of what we know about Ireland way back again. So if we want to think about when the Neolithic period started, which is a period of settlement in the British Isles, it began 8,000 years ago in Ireland, and that's absolutely unbelievable. And that's a really interesting find at Derry Connolly. And when that ties in with the cremated remains on the Shannon Valley in Ireland as well, where we got cremations going on 10,000 years ago, that all ties us in with the advance of civilization in Ireland a lot before us. And it also ties in with the dynamic of the Irish. It's almost as if they seem to be one step ahead of the main British Isles, i.e. we look at the beaker people, we look at copper technology, we look at the tin with it, making bronze, we see that early stuff about 4,600 years ago, we see that. And also look about Christianity. Well, the Christianity seemed to end up in Ireland, and there's no link with the Romans at all. And the legacy of mainland Britain, when we look at the Roman era, is in fact Christianity. But in Ireland, it's really different. So I think Irish archaeology is absolutely amazing.
But they're linking the things that they found with the site in Spain. So they think there was a bit of trading. Eh?
Was that in the? I don't think we got that the other week.
No.
Yeah, well, I saw that somewhere.
Hang on a minute. Come on, you've said it now. Give us more information.
Well, I've lost it now. You've put me off. I did see. I did see briefly. It said it very interesting that the tools and things that they found were the same as a particular site in Spain, and they're not to be found anywhere else. So they reckon there must have been trading going on 8,000 years ago.
We didn't get that the other week, love.
Which is amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. See, I told you, I tell you, Margaret, you feel that you're not worthy to be in my classes, right? But you are. I selected you as a far superior being to the rest of the world.
I'll remind you of that.
I tell you what, right, in the notes now, Roger's admitted that I'm his love child. It's all going to be in there. Right, yes. David, anything you want to tell us, lovely?
No, thank you.
Okay. Is Judith there?
She is.
Yes. All right, Judith, right, you give me an absolute headache, right? With these images, right? I've had to go through all your images, like 50 of them, right? And we're only using about 15 tonight. Do you know how much stuff has gone into tonight, right? There's so much stuff gone into tonight, right? Including an actual photograph of the Sphinctus Cullis coin.
Oh,
what? The what coin? Which coin?
The Sphincterus Cullis coin, Emperor Sphincterus Cullis. We've got an image of it tonight. Judith, anything you want to tell us?
Only to add about the Irish-Spanish connection. I've heard that there are genetic links between the Iberian Peninsula and Ireland as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That isn't in Britain.
No.
Yeah.
But there is one thing. There is one thing about all of this stuff, right? It's like all of these linked things are a little bit before that we thought, you know, and it's one of the adages. I think Andy used to hear me say this all the time, which I don't say much now, but because everything's flowing a lot more. But I used to say, whatever dates I'm giving you now, sort of will be a lot older, right? I used to say that a lot. So when we say certain stuff is happening in Britain 7,000 years ago. It's now pushing back to 8,000 years ago, and the ballpark seems to keep moving back. And I said to Andy, I remember saying this 10 years ago, if I get a date wrong, say for example, I say, you know, something 2,000 years old and actually it happens to be 2,100 years old, it's better to be wrong that way than it is to say that something is like 5,000 years old and it's actually 2,000 years old. I'm happy for things to be older than I've said, right? And that's usually the case. Oh,
can
anyway.
I just
No.
ask?
Yeah, go on.
Yes.
You? No. What?
Were the Spanish pirates and kidnappers?
Yeah.
So that's probably how it happened. You get
I'm just saying, I
getting
don't know.
isolated
They've always been
communities
bad
in
down there.
Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute, Andy. That's wrong. That is wrong.
Isn't it interesting though how everybody seems to pick on Ireland?
Well,
Yeah.
you just did. It's like the one thing about the Irish is that I think that's an interesting thing that Trina said there. When we talk about the Vikings in Dublin, so about 850, 900, right? The Irish eventually kick them out, right? And you're talking about these bloodthirsty Vikings of being, you know, these ad men of the world, you know, with a couple of female warriors there as well. But the Irish kicked them out, and you're thinking, hang on a minute, what's going on here? And you also talk about the Barbary pirates, right? Where the Barbary pirates are going to Ireland in the 1700s, nicking loads of Irish people. But there again, right? This is really interesting. I've grabbed, because some of you are aware that I've got to build up a pirate persona for something happening in a number of months' time. I've got a little book called Welsh Pirates, right? And I open it and it's thinking, right, how did these pirates make their money? Slavery. How did this slavery? And you're thinking, David Williams, slavery. This pirate, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I think I should shut up about that, right? Yeah. And you're thinking, Welsh pirates having all these slaves, right? So equally, right, when you think about this, I think Drina's point is, what about the Irish going out to places and bringing back slaves? It can work the other way around. Yeah. So we'll leave that there.
Maybe the women were better looking in Ireland.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Well, Margaret, she's Irish.
For sure.
It would show up in the genetics though, because the genetics would say that the Iberian connection would be in Ireland. If they were taking them back to Spain, they would be in Spain. As far as I know, it's in Ireland. So you could be right. So it could be like that. Like Carl's suggesting that it's the other way around. That they're So, or they could be just off on adventure, found love, and stayed there. Yes, because it was so nice.
Yes,
it was actually just taking a day trip to Morgan Bay, except they got lost.
But there is one thing about this. Yeah. There is one thing about this. Have you ever lived with a red-headed woman, right? So it's like you're going to be dumping off your Irish women in the Iberian Peninsula and sort of bringing back some of their women, you know, who are a lot more tamer, black hair, you know, that type of thing. And Margaret, absolute nightmare. But I speaking for personal experience, but I'm not going to say any more. But there is one thing about my mum, right? There is one thing about my mum that Roger knows all about my mum. That my mum has got a very rare African blood group, right? Which is extremely rare in Britain. My mum's got black hair, and it's likely that somewhere along the line, right? There's African in my genome, not going back too many generations, right? And my granddad, right? That eventually married my grandmother that gave me my mum, right? He had a relationship, right, with a woman from Zululand in South Africa.
Well, my great-great-grandfather married a Native American.
Oh well, you had to spoil it, didn't you?
But he remarried.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, obviously,
he wasn't my relation. She died over here after being in America and all that. However,
I have some African genetics, so maybe we're
Who
related,
asked you?
Carl.
Have you?
Yeah.
We're related.
Yeah, you never know. It's part North African. What it was like 0.9% and 0.8% Nigerian.
It's possible, Andy. You and I could
Somebody
be.
worked out once how many generations we're all linked to each other.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I can't remember how many generations.
They say that about all Western men.
Once.
Yeah, Western men are all related to one female.
I'm linked to Carl. Oh, God.
Roger, you're my dad. Right, anyway. Oh, no, I said it now. Sorry. We've got to do these German uniforms in a minute. Oh, Andy, can I say in front of everybody? No, it's just between me and Andy. Now put your fingers in yours. You still want that image of that battered oil painting Morecambe trawler?
Yeah,
Andy?
if you can, but I'm not. It's not the end of the world if you're not. It's not a Crossfields one, I don't think so. But it's nice. It's nice that it's got your connection. So
I want to get it over to you because you
that'd be nice.
better than the battered nature, and you might be able to do a bit of preservation stuff on it. So that's good. Before we crack on with the Wehrmacht uniform and my role as Richter, who's a really nasty guy, right? Andy, I've given it all away. But anyway, Andy, do you want to tell us what were you going to tell us?
Well, I was watching some of the earlier editions of Digging for Britain the other day, and it was quite amazing how they were doing early isotope testing on teeth, which and the guys that they were talking to he'd started it and he'd only done 38 tests up until that point. And I thought, wow. And they started Digging for Britain in 2010. I don't think it was the first episode, but it might have been the first series. But that's only 15 years ago, and yet we now do multiple isotope testing on things like teeth and give it so much. And I thought, wow, how much it's moved on in just a few years. You know,
DNA testing generally and everything.
Yeah.
Easy.
Can you remember that little box of Nancy Rosenberg's found in Southwark 2003 in London, and you got the cream in there, and by the way, we got what was used in Gigi's tomb today, so we're going to be discussing that. But we're thinking, well, if that had been found now, Andy, right?
Yeah,
I reckon we'd be able to get DNA from those fingerprints. I'd be able to we get the full history, and unfortunately, it was found then, right? And it's a shame.
Yeah.
It's the same as Tutankhamun's tomb. If Tutankhamun's tomb would be found now, right, by a group of Chinese archaeologists, right, they'd build a massive dome over the thing, right? The Chinese would buy that bit of the desert, right, and they would go on for the next 50 years analysing every single detail from Tutankhamun's tomb.
Yeah. It's astonishing what they can do now. It's like the environmental DNA. Yeah, ancient DNA is hard enough, but environmental DNA, that is just unbelievable.
And what about the effect of the sun?
Yes, yeah.
Well, it's obviously affected you.
Photofluorescence one, yeah.
Thermoluminescence testing, that's what Roger was on about with.
Yeah.
And when they wanted to get a date for the Uffington horse, right? And obviously the National Trust of scouring this, they said, we'll have an excavation. So it was like, right, the earliest, the Uffington horse must have been created by King Alfred the Great, must have been, right? And then people are saying, hang on a minute, we've got this horse sort of obsession with Epona and stuff in the Iron Age, it's got to be older than that. And I think there was a more recent date than that. And they just said, right, let's get this date. And I said, right, it's not 1,000 years old. Oh, it's got to be 200 years old. No. 3,000 years old, thanks to thermoluminescence dating Uffington horse, and that's one date, right? So obviously, the problem with thermoluminescence dating, it only records the deepest layer of the trenches at the Uffington horse, right? So as the Uffington horse is going to be scoured and the trench is going to get getting deeper and deeper. So the earliest evidence is going to be destroyed, right? So you're going to go lower in the trenches. So the Uffington horse could technically be another 1,000 years old. So it's one of the oldest. It's the oldest petroglyph of that type. It's petroglyph because it's cut into the rock, basically, because it's chalk. It is technically a petroglyph. It is a petroglyph, and it's just absolutely amazing that we're seeing that. So. Anything else you want to say, Andy, before I get onto the Vogue?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Right, so Yes, I'm the next Illicit pillar that I've got coming out. I'm working on now, and it's slightly different, right? And it's going to include few other weird things in it, and also what's happening is that there's a little bit more political stuff in there in regards to wind turbines. Lots of archaeological sites in the upland areas of Cumbria, Wales, are being deprotected or descheduled to put these wind turbines up, right? And it's quite a controversy what's going on. So we'll be doing more of that type of stuff in Illicit Pillar. So I don't know if you can see this. It was spotted, right? It was spotted, this uniform, right? And this uniform, it does look the part, doesn't it? And I've for my role as a guy by the name of Richter, this guy is a senior SS officer, right? But to try and get away with his crimes, he finds another uniform and puts it on, right? Now, there's one thing about this uniform that Will got wrong. It's actually a uniform of an officer from 1960, right? Because the West German army still used the same designed by Hugo Boss with the pleating. It's got 4 buttons, which is exactly the same number of buttons which would have been used by a Wehrmacht officer. This is correct. This is correct. The only difference between a Wehrmacht officer from the Second World War is that would be bigger, right? The epaulets are exactly the same. Everything is exactly the same as a Second World War officer designed by Hugo Boss. And so to get hold of an original uniform, you're talking like £700-800, but I managed to get this for 20 quid, 2 of them. I managed to get 2 actually. And this is actually does look the real deal. And there is one thing about the filming of End of Days, right? I'm not allowed to have any Nazi insignia on this because we're not allowed to portray any insignia that's got a swastika on it. Otherwise, it will not get through the censors. So I thought,
I think that's a pity, because if you are representing a Nazi, you know, I think realism is quite important in art and
exactly. But there is one thing about this, right? This badge on here, right? I haven't been able to trace this badge, so this may have been this 1 year does actually look extremely brilliant as well. But I've no idea what this is from. This might actually be from maybe 1955. But I haven't been able to get this badge because there were still little states within Germany which were still using their badges. So it's going to be really interesting playing this role. And I'll just give a little bit of background for this. It opens with this guy going to a front door, speaking in German, right? And then we've got the whole sort of interview with me, Richter, and the question is, are they going to find out about my my war crimes, and am I going to be hung? So there we go. I can't say any more. Right. So what I've got to do now, I've got so much to get through tonight. Can I just give you an overview of what we got to get through tonight? So, and it's good that we've got all this banter to what we do, but right, tonight. Oh, hang on a minute. I've got this on this device here. Tonight we're going to be I've got to get through my identification, right? So tonight we're going to be looking at as follows. We're going to be looking at a weird discovery that they found a letter from Emperor Caracalla, which is carved in stone. That's an interesting piece. We'll be mentioning this interesting Swiss hideaway up in the Alps. We've got the information about Gigi's tomb and what she was preserved in. That question, what what liquid was she preserved in. Something about an Orcadian tax. We got photographs from Gough. We got photographs from Judith. We've got the sphincter's colours coin, and we've got a few other things that I want to show you tonight. So we've got loads to get through. So let's just crack on. And God, we spent about half an hour chatting, but which is fine because the only reason Roger comes on is to see me every week. He's not really interested in anything we're doing. This is the only time Roger sees his love child. Oh yes, and Judith, right? Do you recognise this image, Judith? Judith, are you all there, guys?
Yes, I'm sorry. The dogs have just come in and they're all wet. Yes, it looks a little bit like that place up on the moors, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, you'll notice that these images are a hell of a lot better than yours, right? Hang on a minute. I'm not having a go. I'm not having a go. Right?
It doesn't look as dry as when we were there.
And basically, what we've got, right, is we've got these images, right, and you can clearly see a lot more detail. You would agree, yeah?
Yeah.
Now that ties us in to its authenticity. So we've got all these images here, and we've also got this today as well. A Roman bridge found up north, which I want Judith to look at. You've got all of loads of Judith's images here. We've got this wonderful Gigi there. We've got the sphincter's colours coin. We've got Tamarkand. We've got this letter, and I think what we need to be doing is this. Now, this is a really interesting one. This is really, really controversial, right? And the reason why this is controversial, I came across this, and it's well on the news. And basically, it goes: lost letter of Emperor Caracalla found at a place known as Burdur in Turkey. And basically, following a demolition order, the Burdur Museum is retrieving 10 slabs reused in the 1950s from the ancient city of Takina to safeguard them as cultural heritage. So in other words, there's this building in this little village, and somebody said, oh, there's carvings here. There's carvings all over it. And they basically said, right, we've got to knock down we've got to knock down your house to retrieve all of this, right? So there's a little bit of controversy there. And it's beautiful, this stuff. So again, controversy. This is October the 30th, right? The controversy. A demolition order for an abandoned farmhouse. Apparently, it looked like it was still being used to me. And basically told village officials and the building's owner that the masonry would be seized for preservation. So basically, they said, right, we're seizing your building because this stone was nicked from this sort of ancient city in the 1950s, or ancient town. And basically what they've done is that they've you can see that there, all these bits of marble and stone. They basically built a house out of a massive inscription, right, which is referring to Caracalla. So guards were placed at the structure after experts saw the several blocks carried rare imperial Roman inscriptions. Now, I was a bit gobsmacked with this because it sort of told me a little more of how seriously the Turkish government is actually taking their archaeology these days, a lot more than they used to. So it basically says earlier directives had already classified the stones as cultural heritage requiring state custody. The farmhouse was erected in the 1950s in Yerish village and was built with marble blocks hauled by cart from the nearby ancient city of Takina. 10 of those blocks contain Latin letter from a Latin text from a letter sent by Emperor Marcus Aurelius Severus Antoninus, which is not Marcus Aurelius as we know. This is the other name for Caracalla. So lots of Roman emperors' names were similar, but so there's Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who's the emperor who died in 180. Caracalla was the son, along with Gaeta, the son of Septimus Severus, who reigned from solely reigned from 212 to I think is 217. But Caracalla had been sort of a Caesar from 198, reigning alongside his brother Geta and his father Septimus Severus. So all this letter is a really important letter, and there's the house, and those bits are the inscriptions. So basically, they've torn down the house to see how much more is there. But 10 blocks actually have this decree. So the archaeologists first alerted the museum in 1970, but nothing's been done since. So it goes to show how far the Turkish government is in regards to them taking their history seriously. Can I be a little bit controversial, folks? And I think this is nicely controversial. We usually accuse Islam of not caring for its history, right? But Turkey is an Islamic country, and they do care about their history, very much so. And they feel now that it's time that this building is taken apart for them to preserve these stones, right? So not always when people make statements about Islam, they're correct. In this case, they're completely wrong. The Turkish Islamic government is very much up for preserving archaeology and history of all periods in its past. So recent, and I think that's really fair for me to say that. So recent decipherment showed that the stones form part of an imperial decree addressed to the Roman city of Tikhina, just under 1,800 years ago. So the slabs likely belong to a public monument such as a city gate or administrative building that once displayed the emperor's message. So let me explain a little bit more about this. That there it is. It's in the a lower sort of Latin text. And basically you've got the higher Latin text and the lower Latin text. And Tikhina on Lake Salda flourished during the Hellenistic and Roman periods with temples, civic complexes, and necropolises. Imperial edicts, rescripts, and proclamations were commonly engraved on marble in public spaces, so distant cities could read Rome's decisions. So it's one of those things, you know, we want to set what Caracalla's saying to you people, and they're basically saying that villagers, these stones were brought by villagers from the locality, and the house was built. This is going by the person who owns it. The house was built by my father-in-law. And it said 22 years ago, a letter came from the museum saying, if the house is demolished, do not lose those stones. They are entrusted to you. He remembered that villagers hauled the marble by cart because only a few people owned tractors at the time. The mud brick house even withstood an earthquake in 1971. Look at that there. Can you imagine having this in your wall? It's great, isn't it? So apparently no one actually lives there today. So they decided to pull the building down, and they put guards on the building as they're demolishing it. They put guards on the building so nobody would steal the inscribed block, which I think is absolutely brilliant. It's really good that the Turkish government is actually doing this type of stuff now. So they've now removed the books, the blocks. It is a book in it, really. And archaeologists hope future excavations around Tikhina will uncover further inscriptions relating to the emperor's administration. I thought that was great. I thought that was a really, really nice piece. And it sort of set the mold. And there it is. So you've got the mud bricks above. You've got this. And I'm actually thinking that maybe at one stage this was probably rendered over. Back in the 1950s, it was rendered over, and then eventually, because when you've got mud, when you've got sort of stone like that, and you've got mud in the beds, if you've got rain, it washes it all away quite quickly. So you're going to render over that. So I thought that was really, really good, sort of bringing you that this week and sort of giving that. And obviously the large inscription stones. There's 10 there, and there's a lot more. So every single stone that they're turning there, they're going to have to look at. I'll give you another example. When I went to Orkney, and they were doing the excavations at Nessa Brodgar, which are now closed this year. On the sides of the trenches, there were little stones with little carvings on. I can remember seeing that, and I thought, oh my God. So I told the university about this. So, I got to tell you another little bit of story. I was excavating on a medieval site years and years ago, and it was in the winter months, and it was freezing cold. It was December, and this young lad was excavating, and he pulled out a stone out the trench, and I turned the stone around, and there was a bit of medieval pottery frozen to the underside of the stone, right? So stones really offer you things occasionally you don't see. So it's something like this needs to be completely analysed and completely loved. But
Karl, just one element before you move on to your
just
picture.
go for it.
If you look at that your photograph there, that you've got that big central piece of marble, and the 3 stones to the left, it's actually a fit-in piece. So if you could join those together, you'd be able to read that full slab of text.
Yeah, you're definitely going to be there, because obviously it's all going to be collected together. This marble, yeah, you're probably there. And then basically you've got all this year. Yeah. So it's probably somebody could sort of put all this together on sort of using AI, and it's apps. I love this. I love something like this. Now, always do a fact check on this, right? Because when you're typing stuff into the internet, most of you guys already know that it's about tags, right? So if you're going to be putting this out online, you basically got a box of tags, and it might say, right, Caracalla letter, right? However, when you go to Google Images, right, I found this, which is not the same, but people might think that this is to do with Caracalla's letters in this village in Turkey, which is actually not correct, right? So always fact check your information. I've no idea what this is. This actually looks ancient Egyptian. It might have a link to do with Caracalla, but that was tagged, but it's got nothing to do with this. So always sort of fact check that. Now, hopefully that was of interest to you guys. So what we're going to do now is that last week. Oh, and by the way, guys, I everybody, thanks for sending your money over. Margaret, including you, Margaret. Thanks for sending your monies over for the next 2 months, and I'll deliberately ask Margaret to pay before Christmas, so I can use all the money to buy Christmas presents. Thank you, Margaret. Oh, by the way, Margaret's offered to take us all on a trip to Herculaneum next year as well. She hasn't said anything, has she? Right. So this was rather interesting. I don't know if I may have mentioned this last week, but this is the headlines here. This is from the 27th of October 2025. Archaeologists mentioned this before, an ancient Roman military camp hiding, wait for it, 7,000 feet high in the sky, up in this sort of range, right? And it's here's what you'll learn by looking at this site. For example, archaeologists researching a battlefield in Switzerland discovered a Roman military camp 7,000 feet above sea level. So I think when we're talking about this, it's probably looking a lot about the various different histories of warfare over this landscape. However, the camp is roughly 2,000 years old and ties to the battlefield in the Colm-la-Runga corridor, right? And I'm not exactly sure what happened on that one, but earlier investigations of the site revealed artifacts from the camp, including sling bullets stamped with the stamp of the Roman Third Legion. So the ancient Roman army didn't seem to be afraid of anything, not even Roger. But they definitely weren't afraid of heights, as evidenced by the discovery of this site 7,000 feet above sea level. As archaeologists continue to explore the history of the Roman army in what is now Switzerland, a volunteer unearthed the previously unknown military camp in the mountains, strategically positioned to have tactical views of the surrounding valleys and mountain passes, according to a statement made by local archaeologists. Not only did archaeologists discover the ditches and a wall of the camp, but they also found lead sling bullets bearing the stamp of the Roman Third Legion, and that they're basically mentioning. And it goes on to say they've been doing this research since 2021. Do you know what I'm feeling? I want to see the images of that. I did try and find some of that, but it said they've been researching there since 2021, and they focused on the battlefield site. And the research took quite a turn in 2023 when a volunteer worked on the project discovered what the statement calls a striking terrain structure. And obviously it's the fort. So now we know more details using a high resolution digital terrain model and LiDAR. The LiDAR featured laser scanning of the ground, looking at different heights and levels through the ice and stuff, and resting undisturbed for 2,000 years.
That's not the actual
feet.
place, though, is it?
No. It gives you an idea.
Yeah.
It gives you an idea. Do you know what we're going to do? Maybe what we should do is type something in to see if we can find something on Google now. So that's where we're going to go. Because Margaret's curious, so I'm curious. We'll have a little look in a moment. Thanks for that, Margaret. The previously unknown Roman military camp was fortified by 3 ditches and a wall with ramparts. So you've got 1, 2, 3 ditches, rampart, and obviously that forms a rectangle. So that's, and around it, all of its environments are 3 ditches. So why you'd need 3 ditches this high up? That the perch gave Roman soldiers stationed at the camp a perfect vantage point to spot any incoming enemies. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go with Google. We're going to see if we can find anything else on Google on this one. So let's just see if we can go, see if we can type in Swiss Roman fort. I think we might get something. Roman fort. 7,000 feet up, isn't it? So that's right, isn't it? 7,000 feet up. We don't do complicated words like elevation, Rod. So here we go. See if we can get some images. Right, it's not that one there. I think I did actually see this earlier on. And I did get this. I don't. Right, there. That's the landscape, and there's the trench. That's how high up it is. Oh, and guys, do you know what? I've been doing archaeology for too long to be able to just interpret this. So there is the ditch. There, you can see it clearly, and it sweeps around there. We take that away, you can clearly see the ditch. There you go. You can see it all above that, you know. So there it is. We don't need to say any more. That is that. And this has got to be. I think if I make the statement, this has got to be the highest Roman fort that is in the Roman Empire. And actually, you can actually get an idea moving that way. So if we zoom in. If we zoom in on this, can I zoom in? I can't zoom in. So we can basically see one ditch there. There's another ditch there, and I think that on the top is going to be the rampart. It's a small, and they should have referred to this more as a signal station, or you know, this is really high up.
Difficult to supply.
How would they supply it exactly? So the one thing about this is that using it as a signal station is a good idea, but there is one problem with using it as a signal station. It's so high up, it's going to be in the clouds most of the time. And secondly, the slopes are going to be so full of trees that nobody's going to be able to see a signal anyway. But that trench there, which is, get rid of that trench there, is in fact down there. That's that. So yeah, it's clear as day. You don't even need LiDAR to see that. And Are we get that? Well, that's even better. Look at that. You can clearly see the ditch. So they've taken a trench across that. I'm struggling with the third ditch actually, but you've got two clear ditches there. And there you go, one ditch there, one bit ditch there, and you've got the rampart going up along that. So it's a permanent site. And obviously, actually, Roger, have you ever been to the site Hard Knot, which is in Cumbria?
No.
When you,
No.
I've been there several times, and we came from. When you go to Hard Knot Fort, you've got to go from the western side, right? Not the eastern side. I wouldn't be able to get up there. It's basically the gradient is about 45 degrees, right? So it's like I wouldn't be able to get up there in my Peugeot 306. So you've got to go the other way. And then you go down. My brakes would fail going down the hill on the other side as well. But it's so high up, the one at Hard Knot, and that's really you struggle to work out how that was accessible. But this is even further up. So there's things that we don't know about history and archaeology, and it's we basically say they couldn't have done that, but they did do it, and that's the point. And they were able to build a fort up there. In those conditions, and if there's loads of articles on here, there's a YouTube as well, and you've got all the other. Do you know what I'm tempted to do is press the YouTube thing. See, maybe we can get some more. Hang on, let's just see.
Carl, while you're doing that, if you go to Google Earth and put in Comb-la-Runga, you can zoom down on top of that site from Google Earth.
Yeah. All right then. Oh no, I haven't got Google Earth on that. But what I haven't got Google Earth. Hang on a minute. So how do you spell it? Spell it for me. Go for it.
Comb-la-Runga, C-O-L-M. Separate word. L-M. C-O-L. L for Larry. M.
Comb. Yeah.
Space L-A.
L-A.
Runga. Space R-U-N-G-A. That's it.
Got it.
But if you go to Google Earth, you can. I just did it. You can zoom down on top of it. You can see the outline of the fort from the images on the hill. Maybe save it for next week.
What?
Mate, hang on, terrain. I got a cat eating the lead on my mobile. Right, so there.
On the right.
There
it's
it is.
Called Romalaga. Romalaga.
There it is.
On Google Earth.
You can see it there. You can actually clearly see. It's a bit of a weird shape, but yeah, you can see that. Anyway, thanks for that. Yeah, you can see it. And actually, my archaeological eye tells me that if you look, move that, you can see something here as well. You can clearly see that there's something more there. So obviously they would have spotted that. But yeah, anyway, thanks for that, guys. That was a good joint effort. Good. Excellent.
I just captured a photograph of the hill of Google Earth. I'll send you a photograph or two.
Whilst you're saying that, in the next LSE pillar, right, Will, I'm mentioning your work that you're doing in regards to Rumney Getley Gear Fort, right? If you can write a small piece, 200 words and a photograph, I'd really appreciate it.
Okay, I will take care of that. Thank you very much.
You know, I'm this is wearing me out. Right. So what next are we going to do now? So what next are the secrets? Let's go into something else now. That was a joint effort. Margaret, Will, Roger interfering with me as usual. So let's just see what we've got.
Can I just
no, you can't.
Just a little question. Was Switzerland part of the Gaulish region?
Thank you.
Let me but yeah, basically it's part of the Gallic landscape. It's actually, I'm looking at the map now. Yes, what we are talking about, it was the extended Gallic world. It was the extended sort of, as the Romans would call them, the Celtoi north of Italy. Yes, it was.
So it was within Rome's interest to be hanging around there then.
Yeah, but it's the one thing that I when we were thinking about this, it was like there was a plan by the Germans towards the end of the war to make the Alps itself the southern redoubt of a sort of a small sort of surviving Nazi Germany, and they were hoping to hold up in there and all the rest of it. But then I start to think about this, and I start to think, well, people were able to assail this landscape. It's not indomitable. It's not impossible to get past it. And that's what I'm thinking of, and sort of that idea that you've mentioned about the Gallic people and the Romans keeping an eye. It's a bit way up, but we are going into what we know. We should think about what we don't know. Are there other reasons why they would have a fort up there? Because there is one thing. They're not going to be able to keep an eye on much because the landscape's going to be full of trees. And half the time they're going to be in the clouds. So they're not going to be able to see much anyway. So what is the other reason why we're there? And that should be a question we should be asking ourselves. So anyway, there's that, right? Oh yes. Mentioned something odd last week. It's a little bit of politics, right? I don't know if when it was announced, right, they were going to Orkney it says no now. Orkney were going to introduce an overnight visitor levy. So, the Orkney Council decided against this. There was widespread local opposition and concerns about administrative burdens for charging people to go to Orkney, right? There was going to be a tourist tax. Right. And one of the things about the tourist tax, everyone who gets off a boat from Norway on Orkney was going to be charged. And i.e., when we used to organise trips to Orkney, we used to stay there a week. And being charged, extra £5 a head would have been quite difficult for people to have done. But reason why I'm showing you this is it basically there's lots of sites in Orkney that are free access, right? There are some that you charge to go and see, but lots of free. And so who maintains that stuff? And I know it's got stuff on the screen there about overnight visitor levy, possibilities, but somebody has to pay for our history sooner or later, right? Somebody has to be able to pay the money to maintain these archaeological sites. They can't be free for everybody. And one of the things that if you go into Orkney and you're from somewhere like Norway, or you've waited to go to Orkney for a very long time, what's a little bit of extra money? Because when you go to places like Egypt, you expect to pay to wander around the Giza pyramids. You expect to pay to go and see these sites, right? So to keep up their maintenance, and I think we should be doing a little bit more of that. But with Wales, we've got 7 big museums that are all free, and now we're cutting. The beginning of last year, we cut 200 members of staff because we couldn't pay for the upkeep of the museums, because nobody was paying to go into them. So something has to give, something has to change. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to look at this, right? This links in with the Silk Route. And how this links in with the Silk Route is that what we've got the likes of Gough on a Wednesday. His partner went, just to describe it, they started off in China and they did the Silk Route all the way through to, I think it was Turkey, right? And they went to all these wonderful places along the Silk Route. And this is a place known as Tamarkand, right? And Tamarkand itself, his partner Eleanor went to Tamarkand, And the one thing is it's on the Silk Route, and as you can see, it's on the Silk Route. And one of the things is that you've got this beautiful architecture that's in Turkestan, for example, and you're thinking, well, how is this there? Right? But there it is. This isn't one of Eleanor's images. That's one of Eleanor's images. And you're thinking that we in the West, right? We think about the greatness of Rome, and we think about the greatness of Athens, as Judith went to see. We think about Pompeii and Herculaneum. We think about the Great Pyramids, but lots of these places in the world, like Turkestan, we don't get to hear about them. And there's so much about this world that we've got to learn. And this landscape, this world that we're seeing in regards to these images, Samarkand was built up due to the wealth generated on the Silk Route, right? So, and again, that question that this is sort of halfway in the middle, and you're thinking, well, how did this city gain its wealth to create beautiful structures like this? How did it do this, right? And the question is, along the Silk Route, we were talking about silk is going west. What is going east? Because obviously you're trading stuff one way, some wealth must be coming this way, right? So the wealth for this is being made out that interchange between the silks, the hides, the precious gems, and what's coming from the West, right? And I just wanted us to remind us of that on this Silk Route. And Eleanor went to see these, but apparently she broke her foot or her leg or something, so she couldn't complete the full trip, and she had to be flown back or something. So that's a bit of a shame. I can't remember the exact story, but there's a couple more images. And look at this. I know these are more sort of in more recent times, but the wealth of a locality like that has come about from 2,000, 300, 400 years of trade to build these beautiful monuments that nobody ever talks about, right? So this goes all the way back. And there is another thing as well, is when you look at this, it's still there today. This has survived Stalin. This has survived all the different religious things. And again, it's a reminder that some way along the line, people respect their past so much that things remain. And I think that's something that we can learn about in the West. And again, I mentioned the example in Turkey where they've got the inscriptions associated with Caracalla, and they've preserved them. And it's great that type of thing is happening, that people are getting more and more aware of their history, when in fact in Britain we seem to be going the other way, but that's something else. So again, just a reminder of that. And also I wanted to, okay, we're going to do this now. So what I want to do is show you that coin. That's a coin of Sphincterus Cullis. And I've mentioned this before. This is accordingly one of the last Roman emperors of the West in the year 476. But the question is what I've just told you factual or not? But that looks like a beautiful coin, doesn't it? From the Emperor Sphincterus Cullis. Look it up, Margaret. Look it up. And basically, if you do see this symbol in the next Elliptic pillar, it's about a little bit more of a proactive thing that we're doing to try and bring people's awareness to preserving our history and heritage a little bit more. And this is to do with replacing an organisation in Wales called CADU to try and get the preservation of our history and archaeology better looked after. And that's a symbol that we've designed, and it's all to do with these wind turbines and all these other things. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a break now, and there's a piece that Roger's written, which will be going in one of the Elliptic pillars. Well, sort of written. There's a little bit of research he's asked me to do in regards to a Roman fort in Cardiff, right? I've got some of those answers will be in there, Roger, for you, because I do things for Roger occasionally. Not that I want to do them, but I have. So there we go. We're going to take a little bit of a break, and we've got part 2 after the break, and we've also examined the blood as well of that wonderful leader from the old Chinese world, from the Han Dynasty. Right, Roger, anything you'd like to say?
No, so far it's very interesting. Lots of things, prompt thoughts like that high fort. It does really add up. You know, it's okay having a temporary camp when they're tramping around and looking at something, but you see, there's no real water supply there. It's murder getting up there, and it's in the clouds anyway, a lot of it. It seems very odd, but there's a reason for it.
They built something permanent.
A very important need, big important need to protect that area, or at least put up with all that, to be able to monitor it properly. Because if you're up high, no one can attack you very easily. And as long as they can give signals to the people below if there's any backup needed. But there's obviously a very important reason why that's there.
Because the thing is,
so much effort, it takes enough to do all that in the flat, never mind up there, in the sky. And you think, well, what the heck is it? And a double balance, you know, you think,
yes.
well,
triple. There's apparently 3 ditches. I could only work out 2, but apparently there's 3. So 2
ditches and the inner fort, if you like. Maybe that's the 3 or something. Anyway, it's a lot of effort at best on the flat. So what the heck is going on? There's something we missed somewhere, and you think, well, it's important, but how the heck do you manage it? You know, it's been done. So a lot of slave labor, perhaps, I don't know. We say something similar to Hard Not Fought up in Cumbria as well. Why the need for that there? It just doesn't make sense, you know. And it's just like there's a bathhouse there, there's this wall around it, and we're missing something.
And we are missing something, because Hard Not, they didn't just use it for a couple of years. They abandoned it, then they used it again, then they abandoned it and they used it again. Why? And you're just thinking, well, who are they? Who's going to be up there anyway? You know, there's going to be nobody living there. So what are they protecting? You know, what's going on? There's something in some of our history that we just don't understand. You know, and Roger's made that point really well.
If I could, on Coma Roga in Switzerland, one observation: it's quite possible that they had a supply of carbon steel in the rock formations. And in fact, mining, when you refer to what would they use it for, mining the actual either the rock for carbon steel, because in Switzerland, if you go back, you know, the Swiss knife, you can't beat it. Carbon steel, a natural ore with a meld of other additives, which gave them a very strong steel. Quite well, it could have been some mining.
Well, they would have been quarrying, wouldn't they?
Yeah. That is the point. That is a very good point. That's something that we miss, right? And we'll discuss this briefly, right? It all goes back to the monks, right? So when we think about the dissolution of the monasteries, basically there was one monastery in Britain that were very close to the Bessemer process of creating high tensile steel, right? And it was just like, right, that they were getting that, right? Because the monks up until the 1530s, right, were the miners. These were the people who were doing experimental things in Britain, right? So when we go back to the Roman period, when we think about that as an analogy for that, so we go back 1,000 years, we go back to the Roman period, and we think about the technology that the Romans introduced to Britain was a higher variability of mining techniques. So when we're looking at the Romans coming to West Wales, instead of extracting small amounts of gold, they're able to blast whole mountains to actually get as much gold as they can out of the mountain ranges in West Wales. Equally the same as the Romans mining in the Merthyr Tydfil Valley all the way down to the Taff as well. We're talking about the Garth. They're extensively mining, and it's the Romans bringing this technology into Britain that wasn't there before. So in other words, it's a Roman early industrialization of the landscape. We do see that across Britain, for example, because when we look at the East Coast, the Romans are building large lengths of canal networks, canalizing the Norfolk landscape. So they're able to reclaim large tracts of the landscapes, the more land is brought into sort of cultivation in Britain. And so when we look at that analogy that we've got, possibly the fort is there because they're mining, and it's the Roman military that's mining because those are the ones who would have had skills, would sound very, very plausible. Right. Okay, then. Let's have the girls. Andy.
No, nothing to add. Thanks.
So talk about a real woman, Drina.
No, nothing. Thank you.
Margaret's going to send me a nasty message if I don't say that she's a real woman as well. Margaret.
You're right. Regarding Hard Knot Pass, Hard Knot Fort, it was there to guard. It was this pretty strategic route from Ravenglass to Ambleside Fort, and it was there just to protect that route over the mountain. And I believe there were about 500 soldiers there permanently.
There's a big training ground as well.
Yeah.
Basically a mix of AILA and a mix of cavalry and infantry. But we'd say that, right? But I would then argue that Britain, and lots of people would disagree with me on this, Britain is a fairly peaceful land. Lots of the local tribes are not bringing up massive amounts of resistance, so we might be talking about, again, to do with the mining link. And it's a bit of a queer route, to be honest with you. That road is so steep.
But it's a quick route to the coast. It's the route that we use today to get to the coast quickly.
Only if you've got a good car.
Well, no, I conked out on Hard Knot Pass
a couple of years ago,
but it was an old banger.
Fair enough. Did you conk out on the slope and actually you have to roll all the way back down?
No, it just flashed up a message saying, "Stop car now, engine boiling, engine too hot." It had run out of oil, basically. And we couldn't have broken down in a worse place.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. And I bet you it wasn't your fault.
Oh, it was actually, yeah.
Oh my God, a woman admitting she's wrong. Oh my God.
Right. I missed that. Oh.
We went slightly off route.
Yeah,
much like the Romans.
Exactly, sounds like it. Right, anything from you, David? And what we got two wonderful women. Let's do the first of the wonderful women, Anne.
I was amazed at the Silk Route, the buildings along the Silk Route. And they're so wonderful. And you think, we see some things all the time, like the Taj Mahal, or the Onion, I can't remember the name of it, in Moscow, church.
Oh, Red Square, yeah.
We see things like that from around the world. Yet those wonderful buildings that you showed us from the Silk Road, they're almost hidden in a sense.
Yeah.
I've never seen
Samarkand, yeah. We don't. And it's just the world is a little bit more complex and more diversity than we give it credit for.
Yeah.
It goes back to my lectures about Mapungubwe and Great Zimbabwe, right? And we go to this wonderful these dry stone buildings built about 500 years ago in Zimbabwe and northern South Africa, and we think, well, all right. These were obviously not built by the local people because they could not have done it. Therefore, it's not interesting, and therefore it's not viable. And then we think, well, why would Westerners want to build anything there? Of course, it was built by local people. And there's also somebody reminded me the other day about Tartaria, right? There's a lot of talk about a lost empire that once existed called Tartaria, and people say, oh, it was lost sometime in the 1800s and all the records and everything was destroyed about it. And we're just thinking, well, okay, if that's the case, tell us more about this landscape and these things. And this is what people are going out doing. And one world that we don't talk about is the great buildings and culture of India. We almost look at Angkor Wat, and we want to look at Cambodia and Thailand. We miss all that, and then we miss the stuff in Pakistan. And even though war-ravaged Afghanistan, there's still a lot there as well.
Do you think it's I mean, that they focus on some things that, I don't know, just a lack of interest or even prejudice, that we don't see. When we see a lot of some things and not, or maybe they're just easier to get to. I don't know. It's just strange that you see other things and we haven't seen, and they are magnificent, what you showed us today, which is why I'm surprised you don't see them.
They are, and this was one of the things. I know Judith was one of my big fans. I was, up until a few months back, I was doing a daily Roman remains in Britain, right? Stone remains in Britain, right? And it was like I would just sit down and say to Michelle, name a place in Britain, and she would come up with a place. And I just thought, we found some really weird stuff that down, I think it's Gloucester, Hereford way, right? There's a river, right? And there's these massive stone walls, right? Which are Roman, which are on the side of this riverbank. And I thought, I never knew this existed. And then it's like, okay, well, we'll do Winchester, and you find little bits of Roman wall in Winchester, and you go and there's several Roman villas that are for public viewing around Bristol, right? And you start looking at these things and thinking, I knew none of this, right? It's not just about Hadrian's Wall, and you start to find things when you go into the nitty gritty, right? And it's like lots. It's almost as if, there's just like 10 Roman remains in Britain that we can see, and then it gets to 1,000, right? And it's just, that's on our own doorstep, as Leonard Cottrell would say. Why go abroad and visit the history and archaeology of foreign countries when you've got it on our doorstep? History on our doorstep, footsteps. And yeah, he's dead right. And it was back in the 1950s. And you've just mentioned that yourself. On a wider frame, there's so much that we don't know about. What about Mongolia? Mongolia is part of this sort of Silk Route thing, right? And then you've got these great sort of Genghis Khan, and you've got all these people coming, these horse people, and you're thinking, well, there must be something in all of this. And I remember
you showing us the wall paintings in Mongolia of the horses. They were absolutely, again, amazing.
And these people and these civilizations that we don't give it as much credit as we should do. And back to that lecture I gave, Russian holograms. You know what? When I saw that in 1989 in York, it was like getting a link with the Scythian horse warriors and all the rest of it. And I'm just thinking, well, I saw that back in 1989, and when I went to find any of these images on the internet, I couldn't find anything, right? And I just thought, well, hang on a minute, what's going on here? So even in recent history, things are lost and forgotten about, right? So, mind you, I think I may still have that book from that exhibition, which I'll show you in the future. Right, we're gonna have a break in a minute. Judith, quickly.
No, nothing, thank you.
Right, okay then. We'll have a 15-minute break, and then we'll come back. So it's now 8:29. We'll be back just before 9:15. Be back then. And Roger, stop moaning. Nobody wants to hear you.
That's no way to speak to your dad.
Look, I tell you what, right? I can speak to my dad as much as I like that. He just doesn't give me as much respect. He doesn't appreciate his long lost son. Look at him. He's shaking his head. Roger, how dare you not recognise me as your love child?
David, how's the sound on your computer?
I can hear it. It's got better than it was, but I have to concentrate.
Have you thought of using a pair of earphones?
Pardon?
Have you thought of using a pair of earphones?
No, no.
Uh, the motherboard on a computer basically has several components, and the soundboard or the sound, which might be just built into a couple of chips now, feed the speakers, but the independent feed that goes to your plug-in for your earphones might give you better reception when you're trying to listen to something.
Right.
Try a pair of earphones.
I'll think about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm hoping the weather will get better by Thursday. I'm supposed to be going out with a walking group, and it's all been cancelled today. The weather it's so wet here. There's a great lake sort of in this field next to me where the sheep normally are. They can't get near it. So let's hope it gets a bit drier in the next few days. How long have you been doing learning archaeology, Will? Can't hear you. You switched off, or am I switched off? Can't hear you.
I've had an interest in history for 40, 50 years.
All right.
Archaeology is something I look at different elements when I look at the history and certain things.
Yeah.
And most recently, my creativeness because of research on various items in the last 2 years, digitized books, Google and Hathi Trust and the Internet Archive, all digitized various publications from the universities in the United States. And they've digitized millions of books. Many of them go back into the 1700s, 1800s, and the 1900s.
Yeah.
The history, and I was interested in the history of Rumney, and I created videos of the area on YouTube. And basically, when I research Rumney, and as I go through it, I literally have looked through thousands of files, and I see something of an interest, and I go and have a look. Carl mentioned David Williams. Well, David Williams, as an author, wrote the history of Monmouth, plus another of other number of publications back in 1796. And when we talk about the Roman history, he actually covers that quite well, talking about Monmouthshire, because then he talks about other areas interrelated, not just about Monmouth, but the whole of Wales and Britain, etc. But he talks quite extensively about the Roman history, the princes of Wales, North Wales, South Wales, etc., etc. So the archaeology, as a sort of footnote, I hiked and camped on Hard Knot Pass. I spent a month in Cumbria in 1972 on an outward bound course. I was based in Eskdale. Barclays Bank paid for a month's outward bound, and we did a hike up Hard Knot Pass, and we also did a hike further up on the other Scafell Pike. We had to go up both of these, and we spent 3 nights. Basically, they drop you off. You have a team leader, a group of 4 or 6 guys, and you got to climb and reach a designated point. At some point, they used to have tin cans with little punches on it, like you do for map orienteering, and you had to prove that you got there by actually getting a card and punch it and show that you actually made it to the site that you were designed to
Very
go
organized.
to. So I spent a nice, great time in Cumbria, probably out of 30 days, probably 20 days out in the wilderness where they drop you off and say, right, you've got to go to point A, B, and C. It's great.
I suppose I never liked history. I hated it at school. I
Yes.
always felt it was about kings and queens and battles, which I'm still not interested in.
Right.
You know, and archaeology, which I've only been doing and with Carl just for a few years. But I find it really interesting because it's evidence-based rather
Yes.
than story-based. So I
Yes.
suppose
Yes.
I do find it very interesting. Whereas history, I almost at school, what we did there, just I really found no interest in it at all.
Yeah. No, I didn't like history in school actually. I dropped out of it after 3 years, and yeah, I couldn't stand talking about the Iron Age and the Bronze Age. It was sort of no real depth. Didn't tell you too much. The rest of the stuff, you know,
And something
kings
I
and
did
queens of
develop
England.
an interest in later
Yes.
and found very interesting was the development of technology, the history of technology.
Right.
I went to a wonderful museum in Prague, which was
Oh,
a
yes.
history of design, you know, that was, I thought, one of the most interesting museums I'd been in, because it was looking at just this development of design and how making things.
Right.
Things that are of use as well as beauty. So it was I like that. But as I say, I don't know much about it. I've only been, well, I suppose I've been coming to Carl for about 5 years now. So I wouldn't
right.
say I know a lot. It's a very big subject.
Yeah. Well, I've known Carl for maybe 3 to 4, and it was only because I saw one of his books, and I basically sent him a little email and bought one of his early books, and then I did a little job for him. I helped to do some editing on one of the books he was writing a couple of years back, and then I not really connected, you know. But I saw this one on Rome in South Wales, and at this point, my interest was piqued in Gethly Gare, which is the Roman fort in Gethly Gare, which is quite extensive. And I'm looking at it now. The Cardiff Society, the Naturalist Society, excavated over the 13, 15 years of so. There were numerous photographs taken that I've been able to obtain through the various writings that I've put into video now. So I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 videos about Gethly Gare. And I'm working on a design, and I'm trying to build Roman houses and the Roman camp buildings using a 3D program, and I'm going to try and video it so I can do it in layers from the basement up and put roof in and do it outside. I'm working on a piece of
And
software.
where do you show these videos?
I have my videos on YouTube.
YouTube?
Rumney Virtual Tours International and Global, or Will George. I've got videos, and I've got Rumney Virtual Tours. I've got about 150 videos out there dealing with the history of
you're a
Rumney,
busy
the
man.
history of other things, and then various bits and pieces. But Gethly Gare's piqued my interest because this thing is covered up. And when we were talking, I was looking earlier today at the Abbeys in Wales. And when you look at
the Abbeys in Wales,
the Abbeys around Wales, or Wales,
Yeah.
total Wales. And just looking at it, and then you look at the fact, well, I'm familiar with the castles, and then you look at the sites of the Abbeys. But Gethly Gare's got the fact that the Roman fort and the Romans were very integral to the development of Britain as a whole. The fact that this Roman fort is buried, and there are very few Roman remains. There are a number of areas around South Wales, around Cardiff and Barry and down towards the coast. Nothing up towards the top of the valleys. that is actually used or developed or used for tourist attraction, etc., etc. And I think it's a sad loss of the resource for the historical standpoint. But on the other hand, it could form a way of employment for the local populace. And the valleys need a lot more than industrialization. You're not going to get car plants. You're not going to get major factories. A lot of this stuff disappeared when the coal mines shut down. And it reflects on the levels of education of the communities, which I don't think the quality of education throughout Britain is very good compared to the rest of the world now. They just don't have the same standards, and they don't cover the stuff. So, but
Wales used to have a very high standing in Britain. Its education was generally considered better than most of Britain at one time. Well, certainly when I was at school, it was.
Well, in the 50s and 60s, and then it sort of it disappeared. The quality, you talk to kids today, and you can ask them about history, you can ask them about the communities. I bet if you ask the number of kids what they know about mining in their communities, most school kids don't know anything about mining in their school kids. And considering how much mining throughout the United Kingdom, so it's community history rather than archaeological history.
Change, don't they? And what was important in one generation becomes sort of nothing in the next one. Something new comes up.
That's right.
And the interests change. And
I've got to ask Andy. Andy, did you ever ride donkeys on Morecambe Bay?
Donkeys on Morecambe Bay? No.
I might have done as a child very early on. But certainly not in the last 40 or 50 years. But yeah.
Right. No.
I do remember them being there. Yeah. I don't think there are any anymore.
No,
there are at Blackpool, but
Blackpool, they were in Blackpool much earlier.
I remember going on a ride on a donkey, but I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere we went to the seaside for a day or something. Right. But I can't remember where it was. I don't think I ever went to Morecambe.
Right, folks, we're back, and the interesting point that Will was making about history is taught very badly, for example, in Cymru Wales, and it's likely that the curriculum's even going to get worse, which I'm told by a teacher who teaches GCSE and A level, and they're moving away from teaching history towards some of the other subjects, which is a bit of a shame. And the other thing as well is it's about drama and all the creative stuff. Wales is becoming a hub for acting and film and so on, but they're cutting all that back from schools, so none of this makes any sense anymore. And anyway, so what we're going to do, we're going to go to the last bit now, and I've got to see where we are with the next stuff. And let's just put the images up. And my beautiful turkey baldric, he's still there. Right, here we go. Now we're looking at the legs of this beautiful empress from the Han Dynasty. And one of the what we've got with Jinju, one of the questions was what was the liquid that she was preserved in, right? So Jinju, and we know that she died roughly around between 169 and 168 BC in the Han Dynasty, and she was married to the Marquis of Dai. So when people refer to as Lady Di of China, she is actually Lady Di, because she was married to the Marquis of Dai, who was a very important chancellor of the Western Han Dynasty, and again that date. So we know that she died around 49, 50 years old, and we found basically a body there was 4 sarcophagi. And then she was in a central sarcophagi, which was sealed, right, in silks and in a liquid. And it's that liquid that is something that we're just going to mention today. Now, say she died at the age of 50, these limbs look like limbs from a much older person, right? And I mentioned the other week that my grandmother got to 102, and I remember her arms look very similar to this. So, you know, doing that little bit of a comparison, but her body was preserved in a liquid, and there's her feet. I tell you what, her feet are in a better state than mine, if anyone looked at my feet. So the liquid found in this tomb, part of the Han Dynasty, obviously we linked that in with the sort of Silk Route, that type of thing. And when we originally looked at this, and so we're talking about Shasha in Hunan province of China, and Shasha was the main city of the Han dynasty. Maybe Hunan sort of is sort of echoing to that. So when we looked at this beautiful lady, and here's some little facts. So Gigi died around, there we go, 168, 169. Was found in 1971 in a tomb in Makai, Sheshan, China. Her body was found in a remarkable, unbelievably remarkable, lifelike state. Definitely lifelike, 100% lifelike, with soft and elastic skin, intact hair and eyelashes, and even blood in her veins. So this body is over 2,000 years old. 2,169, 2,169, 68 years old, or give or take a few years there, because I'm not calculating another 25 years. It goes on to say that the preservation of a body is attributed to an elaborate burial process that involved a series of nested coffins, a mysterious reddish liquid, and an airtight tomb. So what's the reddish liquid? We want to know what the reddish liquid is. Initially, it was thought that the reddish liquid was like a rice wine due to its aroma and yellowish color. So an autopsy revealed that she was in poor health and likely died of a heart attack. The presence of melon seeds in her stomach suggested she died within a few hours of eating the melon, right? So melon seeds, you know, the melon doesn't sound as if it's, you know, going to kill her. I think they found about 160 odd melon seeds or something like that in her stomach. Now, the question is, what was the liquid that she was actually preserved in? Because, you know, this body itself, we want to know. And the interesting thing as well is that this says it all, right? We got the St. Bede Knight, which was found in the 1980s in Cumbria, and that was in a lead coffin. And when they opened that, there immediately, as soon as the body was exposed to the air, it started to decay, but there was blood in the vessels and all the rest of it. But that was found in Britain, and basically it decayed quite rapidly, right? And that is 1980s, but in 1970s, the Chinese were able to keep this body intact. They were able to preserve it, and they were able to display it. But in Britain, we were not even capable of doing that in the 1980s. We weren't even capable in the 1990s of saving Otzi the Iceman that was found in the Alps in 1991. Why is it in the West we're not able to preserve our archaeology in the way that the Chinese do it? And it's not about money, folks. It's about their expertise. They're far more advanced in their ability to conserve their archaeology than we are in the West, and we're only starting to do it at Pompeii and Herculaneum. Okay, what's the answer to this color, right? Further laboratory analysis revealed the liquid was actually a mixture of potassium nitrate and alunite. Alunite is basically an aluminium potassium sulfate mineral. And if anyone knows anything about this, these are the main ingredients for a mythical elixir of immortality described in ancient Taoist text. So when Arnold de Todi is writing about the elixir of immortality in Italy in the 1400s, the Chinese knew about the elixir of immortality nearly 2,200 years ago. And you need, it's that discussion about what is immortality. There was, I remember listening to a Jimmy Carr, the comedian Jimmy Carr recently, and I actually put the quote on my YouTube channel. And he was basically saying, when you've got somebody, you must never allow their name to disappear, because when the last person mentions their name, that person dies twice, right? So you must always remember that person and keep that name alive, right? Is that in fact the elixir of immortality in the West? The elixir of immortality in the East is to be able to suspend the body and keep the body alive. It's still alive after 2,169 years. And it's the definition of what being alive is, right? In death, you're alive, that type of scenario. So archaeologists believe this is the first time the actual elixir of immortality mentioned in ancient texts has been found in China. So they have actually found the elixir of immortality. Ironically, these ingredients are poisonous if consumed in high doses and may have been the cause of death for some ancient nobles and even emperors who sought eternal life through such concoctions. But her body was placed in this elixir of immortality. So the liquid was likely placed in the tomb as a ritual burial object rather than a drink for the afterlife. Well, she was sort of embalmed in it, wasn't she? The sort of liquid. She was floating in a suspended animation. And it bids the question of all those people that are frozen in suspended animation in the United States to be revived in hundreds of years' time, when we've got the ability to sort of bring back the human body and the brain. But cryogenetics and all the rest of it. But this is the ancient way of doing it, and they did it. So give it this Chinese. This is something else that the Chinese gave us. Right. So I want to give you that. That was answer to your question. And obviously, I didn't want to show the rest of her body. I just want to show her legs. This is deliberate. Her feet.
Carl,
there we go. Go on.
Carl, if you look at the feet, you can see that they've been bound. If you look at the structure of the femur going down to the foot, those feet have been bound. So to think the Chinese did this for over 2,000 years, where little feet were emulated as being the key thing for a beautiful woman, was the fact that the feet were bound to have small feet. And you can see from that photograph that you've got a small toe and resting pad, and where the main femur has come down and has been forced in, and the size of the ankle and the shape of the ankle.
Yeah, and do you know what? I got to be honest with you. Michelle's got little feet, and they're beautiful. And I got to be honest with you. Can I come back on that? Right, we had years ago. We had this guy who used to come on my excavations. This was in the end of the 1990s, and this was a Japanese bloke who was in his 70s. So you can work out that he would have served in the Second World War. And he used to talk about the binding of feet in Japan, actually, not in China, but in Japan. And yeah, it's been going on for a very, very long time. So what we've got there, Shishan, Hunan, we've got Gigi, and if there's anything else you want to read about that, then you can. Right, so Judith, babes, are you there?
Hello. Yes, I'm here. Sorry. Yeah.
Right, so Judith had a right.
God, I didn't recognise that one.
Judith had a trip to Athens, right? And basically, Judith, I've got a few of your images, so I want you to maybe say what we're looking at, and maybe I could have a little bit more of a discussion. Is that okay with you?
It's absolutely fine, but I won't.
So go for it.
Go on then. This was inside the Parthenon grounds. Now, I didn't pay and queue to get into the Parthenon grounds, so that picture was taken from the other side of the bars, and I stuck my hand through to not have a picture of the bars. So these are the backs of things that people who paid to get in will have seen the front of. So I'm not sure entirely what they are, apart from they will have been, I don't know, saved, is that the right word? Collected from the grounds and then just put on display. So there'll be parts of things and bits of things that maybe the archaeologists aren't quite sure what they are, because they don't look complete.
No, they're not. But this actually ties in with the later image that you've got, because I haven't got all your images naturally today. But this ties in with a later image that we look at, and it's like all these little bits of marble on the floor, and I'm just thinking, this is I thought that was weird. And one of the things about the Acropolis, and you got the Parthenon there, and it's just like there's so much more than the Parthenon, isn't there? And you've got all this archaeology, and it's a really strange array. It's a nice little section of images that Judith took for us. And I'll probably bring a couple more to us next week. Oh, and actually, I'll say this in front of the lady who's in front of me. I said, Judith, you actually didn't pay to go in, and you took a photograph like this. You are a chip off the old block. You and Michelle are getting really well.
Oh, it was the queues that put me off. The place was heaving, and I just looked at the queue, and it was so hot, and I thought, I am not standing in that.
No. Now, actually, that image that we mentioned is actually here now, and it's just like, that's right
next to it. It was a few steps away.
I find this really difficult because it's like there's all these little bits of marble stuff, all these little bits of marble architecture. And I'm thinking,
like litter.
Yeah, it's like, and then you've got cages behind, and you're just thinking, well, obviously, what I'm trying to get across is that I do so much of this. You almost think I'm an agent for the communist regime in China, because I always say how wonderful China does things, but they really treat their history and archaeology well. If this was in China, all this would be displayed properly and nicely put, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah,
it's rubble. And I got to be honest with you, this reminds me of a little village back in 1989. I went with my parents to a village called Anoira, and they just let me free, and I went over, and I found this valley with all these little bits of archaeology in it, which had never been recorded. So in 1993, when I was 18, I took a group of people out to Cyprus, and we tried to record all this stuff. And it's just like, there's some cultures treat their archaeology in a very, very weird way, and it's almost, I feel like they want they want the marbles back, right? They want the Elgin marbles back, but there's all this stuff litter in the place.
Yeah, it
doesn't make sense. So there it is, looking at that there, and obviously what we've got is we've got the Acropolis there. When I say the Acropolis, the Parthenon. And you've got a big chunk of it there, and you didn't queue to go in. And one of the good things about this is we're getting these little angles, we're getting these things that people don't usually think about. And you mentioned in your messages that you'd see a lot of Roman stuff around. Well, naturally, you're bound to see a lot of Roman stuff around, because the first is the Greek thing, and then this Athens become this sort of big Roman hub, And also, I want to make this point, is that when the Romans are conquering all these different bits of their world, we've mentioned Egypt, we mentioned Greece, we mentioned the Carthaginians, we've mentioned the Gauls, and all these different people. They would bring artifacts back to Rome, right? For example, Athens. So there's bits of stuff that they took from Athens to Rome, and as Rome is falling into the twilight years, when you've got the great arch of Constantine the Great, which is like a celebratory arch after the capital had moved to modern day Istanbul, Constantinople. They actually took all the artifacts from all the different parts of the Roman Empire. They moved them from Rome and took them to their new city of Byzantium, Constantinople, and it's like all of that stuff. And one of the things that I'm linked with is thinking about looking at Greece and how it links to different worlds. And one interesting, this is going to sound like a weird statement. When the Germans captured Athens, it said that the Germans were coming home because the Germans felt so connected, because the Germans did a lot of archaeological excavation in the war in the Greek landscape. Now, I know this from the notes. This is a little sort of temple associated with Dionysus, right?
Yeah.
So you tell us a little bit about that. Come on, let's have it.
Know very much at all. All I know is, if you did you look at some of the others, because there were like there was like a description of what it was on one of the boards.
There we go. We got the description here. This is basically, it's known as the Korigek monument, and it's got a little bit of a plan there. And this is looking at the ancient street of the tripods, connected to the ancient agora, which is the marketplace, with the sanctuary and the temple of Dionysus. The tripods were prizes awarded to sponsors. So this is basically, that's a monument, isn't it, associated with somebody?
Yeah.
And it says, during the 400s years BC, the tripods stood on more elaborate buildings, usually resembling temples. This monument, the Korigek monument, was established in 334 BC, and the circular building rests on the square podium of porous stone and consists of 6 Corinthian columns of pentelic marble alternating with panels of hymetic marble. Complicated stuff. That's all about that monument, isn't it? So the monument is decorated with a marble frieze depicting scenes from the life of Dionysus. Wonderful Greek goddess, god. And the upper surface of the monolithic roof was ornamented with carved leaves that ended in a acanthus-shaped base, which supported the Korigek tripod. In 1669, the monument is surrounding area was incorporated in the Capuchin monastery, mentioned by Lord Byron. So that's all about.
There's a monument to Byron there. If you go further down a little bit, one of those is dedicated to Byron.
Oh, yeah, I didn't put that there. I think it's there, isn't it? That one there.
Yes, the one with the back to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So all these little weird little monuments that you don't, again, when we Anne was talking about, we think about the Parthenon, we think about the Acropolis, the big area. The Acropolis is the name of the area. So you've got the Parthenon and the big building.
Hello, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Hello,
can everybody hear me?
No.
Just about.
Yeah.
Have you lost me, or am I still here?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I can hear you now.
You.
All right. Okay. So again, when you go to places like this, all these other little bits get missed. And it's like you're then talking about all these other structures.
I think that was the library, if my memory serves.
The library, because this is the agora, isn't it? The marketplace and all these buildings.
Yeah.
And you took it, that's associated with Emperor Hadrian there, that monument in front. But this is a little bit like Rome when you're walking around the Forum, but all of this stuff here as well. And this is a point that I'm going to make. There's if anyone ever goes to the Roman amphitheatre at Caerleon in South Wales, associated with the Second Augusta Legion, at the back of the amphitheatre, the best preserved amphitheatre in Britain, you'll see the remains of a load of stone on the ground, which was actually part of an arch that was excavated by Sir Mortimer Wheeler at the amphitheatre, and they never ever reconstructed it, right? Which is a bit of a shame. And you look at all this stuff and you think, well, why don't they do more with these bits? You know, and when you think about it, most of this stuff that you're seeing has been reconstructed. So why haven't they gone further? You know, so more of the Agora area, the big market, and so on. And this is associated with Emperor Hadrian. So obviously, yeah. So again, tell us that. Actually, tell us what you feel about this bit of the landscape. How did it feel?
That bit didn't really, I don't know, it didn't do anything. My favourite bit was the Arch of Hadrian. That was just mind-blowing. No, that isn't it. That's like the entrance to the Agora.
Yeah. I thought this was associated with Hadrian as well.
Oh, maybe it is. Did I not take a picture of the board? There's so much, that's the different view from it. That's a different view of the same thing.
This is the library.
Yeah.
And again, when you think about the library, right? When you think about the library, it's like you think, how many books were there? It's classed as the Roman library, isn't it?
Were they all burned in a fire? I think that happened a lot, didn't it?
Yeah. The thing is, this racks my brain as well. This is another thing that racks my brain when we think about if we think about Eastern archaeology, right? Some of their stuff in different areas has survived, right? But we don't have a surviving library in the West. We don't. Alexandria went up, Ephesus went up. We've got this library in Athens. You got the library in Rome going up. You don't. What has happened? Why has this happened when in the East you do have things surviving? And you mentioned look at the carving skills on that with the marble.
And it was just lying it wasn't protected by anything. It wasn't behind a fence or anything. It was just we would just walk around a corner and it was there just on a piece of grass, just laid there. No idea what it is, where it's from. And I don't think the authorities know either. They've just left it there because maybe they've just got so many and they don't know what to do with them all. I don't know.
This also goes back to why excavate things and allow things to be exposed if you're not going to do anything with them. And I think this is what the point with Whirling Getley Gaia. They excavated this Roman fort and they covered it back up. Why did they do it in the first place? You know, it's like if you're going to do this stuff, you may. Oh, that's the Hadrian.
Yes.
Yeah. I think. Yeah.
That picture doesn't do it justice. It's just there in the middle of it. You just turn a corner and it's there. It was. I loved it.
Why was this fascinating to you?
I don't know, because it's right on a really busy 6-lane highway with a roundabout, and you take your life in your hands crossing from one side of the road to the other. I don't know. It was just there. I don't know. That picture doesn't do it justice. It was huge.
Yeah. So is that obviously connection with Hadrian, and you're thinking, well, Hadrian's wall,
and the position of it. The position of it. Sorry, my throat.
It does look fascinating. So what we do, right? Tonight it was like, oh my god, I was cursing you and thinking, oh my god, there's too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring not too many next week, but we'll bring a couple more of your images from next week and sort of complete that little bit. So the other bit I want you to stay on, Judith, because there's two last bits to this, and there's a little bit more.
There we are. Yeah, that's looking from one side, from the what's it called? The Olympic Stadium side, through the arch to the Parthenon. And then if you stood the other side of the gate and looked the other way with the Parthenon behind you, you were looking at the Olympic. Well, you couldn't see it from where we were, but behind a few other buildings was the Olympic Stadium. So it's slap bang in the middle to say this is ours now.
But look at that
was the impression it gave me.
But look at that detail. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And to
Yeah, I
say
can
it's been
see where you.
standing by all that rumbling traffic and the trucks and the buses and everything 24 hours a day, and it's still in that condition.
Can I just put a bit of a red herring in here, right? So
Oh.
obviously, the red herring in here is that some of the archaeological stuff that I've done, it's like I'm having to say, well, that's been reconstructed, that's been this, right? Obviously the Parthenon hasn't been, right, because obviously Elgin took stuff away, but how much of this stuff has actually been rebuilt?
Oh, do you think? Oh, okay.
No. I'm not saying that this has been rebuilt, right? But remember, this is an earthquake zone, right?
Yeah.
That looks pretty intact. However, you can see where you've got these bits here that might indicate that there's been repairs on it. And I'm always suspicious when you've got things like this. I'm thinking, is that being rebuilt? That bit on the right there. How much of this has been rebuilt?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
No, but I don't want to knock your Hadrian's Arch, because that looks like it hasn't moved much. That looks fine. But remember, this is an earthquake zone, so how much of it's been rebuilt? But the next bit is quite actually short and sweet, right? I found these images in my archive, right? And basically, the story is.
God, don't show anyone that one.
Well, I'm showing it because I haven't got many
An ancient
of these
relic.
So basically, this is Wade's Causeway. Now, Wade's Causeway is apparently a mile length. Well, is it owned by the National Trust? A mile
so,
length.
yeah.
A mile length of Roman road up in Yorkshire, right? So I said to Judith, "Can you go up there and take some videos and stuff?" And I'm still going through that stuff, and I'm still using it. It's like Wade's Causeway is in Magaray's book, as Magaray was writing this book in the 60s and 70s about all the Roman roads in Britain, loads in Cumbria, right? Loads in Northumbria and loads in Yorkshire. And apparently Wade's Causeway is the best preserved stretch of Roman road in Britain, except some people believe it's not a stretch of Roman road. Now, you've taken these images now, right? And I'm thinking, right, the stuff that you took, Judith, right?
Were we in the wrong
For
place?
me, say that again. No, you
Were
were
we
in
the
the
wrong
right place. You were in the right place. Yeah. Because this here, the photograph that you took, this is not the photograph you took. The photograph you took of this exact image, you can hardly see anything in your photographs of this very scene. And I want to make a point in a minute. This is a really important point. The photograph that you took is so not seeing anything, right, that it's not even worth showing, right? These photographs were taken. I think these photographs were taken maybe 30 years ago, right? And the point you can clearly see the alignment. The point I would like to make, there you go. The one that you took, Judith, right? The stones are in yours, but they're not very clear at all, right?
No.
But this is clear 30 years ago, right? I think you attempted to try and take a photograph of this ditch, but it wasn't clear at all. The point I want to make is forensic archaeology, right? Is that if what Judith is showing, obviously here, is very faint now, right? But 30 years ago, it was very prominent. That means that this road is more recent than we think, right? Because if this has become overrun and lost in soil and lost in undergrowth in 30 years, right? How there is it visible 1,800 years after it was last used, right? That means that this routeway is probably a lot more recent than the Roman road that they say is Wade's Causeway in Yorkshire. That is exactly the point I wanted to make.
Yeah.
So therefore, in Britain, I've got the photographs in front of me, which don't do the images justice in front, and nor does Judith stuff. Judith's videos were great. They're not shown with any justice tonight. But the point is I want to make is that when people talk about Roman roads in Britain, it's a complete fallacy. There were very, very few decent built roads in Britain at all, right? Nothing like the Appian Way. And people wanted Wade's Causeway to be Roman. And it's very, some people believe that Wade's Causeway was actually constructed in the 1700s, 300 years ago. And it's a 1 mile stretch of road that looks like this, and the rest of it isn't.
Yeah.
So that basically
makes
means
sense. It didn't feel Roman.
I don't want it to make sense, but when somebody's building, when you've got a mile stretch of road that's supposedly Roman, right, and then the stuff before it doesn't look really well built, and the stuff after it doesn't really look well built, it starts to make you think that actually this was built about 300 years ago. There's talk that it may have been, and actually, Judith, I have seen this road, right, with paving all the way across it.
Oh, grief! Right.
There's a photograph, maybe about 100 years old, with paving all the way across it, and now you can't see that, Judith.
No.
So again, this is to be very suspicious of what we're told in school, and what the history books tell us. And then finally, I really don't know if I want to do this today, because the next bit, but I'm gonna. The next bit is really controversial, right? It's this article here. Now, I gotta double check the time, see what time it is. It's 9:21, so we're going to discuss this for a little while. Not a little while, a few moments. This is from a magazine that came out in 1995. There was a guy by the name of Raymond Selkirk, Roman bridge found by couple on bike ride. It basically says that Christopher Saxton's map in the 1700s records a Roman road. The road originated in South Shields and passed through Sunderland. It headed in the direction of Old Durham. And this is the Roman road route, right? And it basically says that the topographical evidence from 1894 mentions a possible road. And it mentions that on the road from Byers Green to Bishop Auckland by Binchester Hall, there is a distance of about a mile from Byers Green on the west side of the road. Near to it is an ancient narrow pavement of small stones. And then they talk about there's a crossing over a river. And they believe that these are actually Lewis holes in some stone that was found in the river. Now, that stone doesn't actually look Roman to me, but it says an identifying feature claiming that Lewis hole. Those that were very cold, a first time they ever met me, Drina, and she gave me this massive hug and she wouldn't let me go. And then there was Margaret who just wanted to hold me even longer. And there was Andy and Claire and a few others. We went to Bird Oswald, and I showed you these in the stone at Bird Oswald, Lewis holes, if you can remember, right? There's Lewis holes in these stones on the riverbed here, right? And it basically says that this is associated with the River Wear at a place known as Page Bank. And it says the Lewis holes, an identification feature on some of the Roman stones on the riverbed at Page Bank on the River Wear, W-E-A-R, is the Lewis hole, a dovetailed hole cut into the top surface of the stone. The treadmill-powered Roman cranes use Lewis devices for fitting large stones. 2 metal triangles and a spacing piece fitted into the hole, and once the stone was lowered into place, which could be underwater, the central spacing piece was removed with a lanyard, and the 2 metal triangles were then free to leave the stone, and the process could be repeated. It's like a cantilever thing. The name Lewis is a medieval name for the device, which
when reinvented in the 1300s. The Latin name for the technique is not known, but to a trained eye, there is no mistaking a Roman dovetailed hole or the distinctive Roman feathered chisel marks on the stones. And guess what, folks? There's nothing more to be said about this at this point, but if you want me to look a little bit more about this in future, I will do so. And this is basically mentioned in a book that was published in 1995, so 30 years ago, by Raymond Selkirk in a book known On the Trail of the Legions. And I'm sure you might be able to get a copy from Amazon or something like that. And apparently, it was quite a really popular book. But it's then going quickly back about this. Northern archaeology, a chap by the name of Tom Wright, has informed us of the discovery of a suspected but previously unknown Roman bridge. The one thing about this bridge, right, is that we've hardly got any evidence for Roman stone bridges in Britain at all. And every expert on the planet has discounted this as being anything other than something that's not Roman, for reasons that I don't rightly understand. And maybe if you want me to look at this in the future, we could possibly do so. And I think that is everything from today. And it's taken us to lots of different places. And we're going to stop that now. David has left us, which is a shame. I don't know when David's left us. I think it was about 9 o'clock, wasn't it? So, right. So we've done from the elixir of life to a Roman bridge, to looking at a fort in the Alps, to going with Judith, looking at Roman road. We've done loads of stuff today. So let's just see if Roger's got anything else he would like to say.
No, nothing really. I did quite well. Said my piece with that fort. No.
We've forgotten about the Roman uniform. Not the Roman uniform. The German
uniform.
Yeah, we and maybe I'll put this on as we discuss this. Right, Anne, anything you'd like to say?
Well, there's just a little question, really. We looked at all that when we were in Athens with all those pieces of rocks, worked stone that had just been put on one side, and you're saying it wasn't assented to. Like in China, they look after things much better.
Yeah.
And trying to look for a reason for that could be that China is much freer. I don't think they quite have the same political voting system that would give them, so that they would be able to do things and spend money when the public aren't behind it. Because archaeology isn't a very popular. It's supported very much by the public, is it? It's a interest that a lot of people have, but not enough to be able to, for the government to be saying we'll spend all this money. Looking after it. I wonder if there's anything in that in it, because China is a different kind of, works a different way, doesn't it, politically? To spend money on such stuff.
Now, when I studied, when I was doing my first qualification with Leicester University, one of the fields that we were looking at was how different countries on the planet preserve and display their history and archaeology.
Yeah.
And how they use it in different political ways, and how some countries don't care and other countries surprisingly do care. And one of the countries that should surprisingly care is our country. But as Orkney has realised that lots of people go to Orkney to see the history and archaeology. There ain't great woodlands to see. There's not great wildlife to see other than the stuff in the sea and whatever, and it's the archaeology that people go to see.
Yeah.
And that's massively important to their tourist industry, and they've got to keep it going. But one thing that we are inevitably seeing in Britain is a decline of what we're about. And this might sound political. There's too much of immigration now, and there's too much of politics. Politics has become too political, right, and too acrid,
Oh, he's gone
right?
again. Oh,
So
shush,
so
shush.
so people's attention for things like history and archaeology, conservation seem to be not as strong as they were. And for example, I'll give you a good example, Anne, right? And I've never discussed this before, right? Um, back in 2000 and back in 2021, right? I was contacted by British Associated Ports to see if I wanted a Second World War building, right? A tower which I've told you all about. Yeah, I've never discussed this in this way before. Right, and they basically said, right, you can have this building, but there's other Second World War buildings that we're pulling down here, a beautiful Art Deco thing, right? And it was basically, you can have this building, it's yours, right? But you need to take it off site, right? So we eventually got the money together and we were able to move it, right? Um, um, which was great. We managed to do all that, and eventually we put it to a new location, and it's there for people to see it, right? Now, that was in 2022. It was in August. It was sort of the end of the pandemic. And you know what? I made no fuss. I didn't put it in the newspaper. I didn't put it I didn't put it in on the radio, or on TV or anything, right? Because I suddenly started to feel that people's connection with history and archaeology went in the pandemic.
Make a difference.
And
I thought I thought it had always been a minority interest.
no, it wasn't.
Right.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, because from my perspective, before the pandemic, I was teaching. I had a massively popular class in Lantwick Major with over 20 people involved. I was building a big one in Bridgend. I did a Barry one. We had a Cardiff one. We had you guys, and we had one in Cowbridge. And we had loads of things going on. We'd have the excursions, we'd have the walks, we'd have the ghost walks, we'd have all these massive things going on. And suddenly the pandemic happened, and there was no energy for me to go back and do all these things. This is why we've remained online. And it's just not us as an organization. There's so many organizations that never ever went back to the real world, right? And it is a lot to do with, you know, in the pandemic, I managed to sell in the pandemic, that 2021, I remember I sold 1,400 books on history and archaeology, right? My own books, 1,400. I know that because I had 14 grand in the bank because of it. So the fact of the matter is, but I would not be able to do that now today. It's just, I struggle to sell more than 5 to 10 books a month.
But
so
what about the fact that you're saying China is doing that? I mean, they also had the pandemic, but obviously, from what you're saying, China is still very much looking after theirs and still doing it.
They're doing it in an even bigger way, and it's just, I feel that it's almost as if what the Chinese do, they say, this is your history, this is your identity, this is who you are. Obviously, there are things in China that you don't need to remind me that there is a political thing, but they've got their own political box.
Yeah.
It's their own.
Also, they've got a much longer civilization than most of us, in a sense that there have been, you know, maybe something like that. I'm trying to just understand. It's interesting why, as much as anything, I'm trying to look at, you know, reasons why it's different. But it's just a mystery.
It is a very complicated ball, and one thing back to, I made a comment earlier on, and it's okay for me to freely do this. Islam is criticized for ISIL and stuff that they did in Iraq and Syria, right? But we look at the Saudi Arabians, we look at the Jordanians, we look at what the Turkish people are doing, and we think, well, this all part of the same religion thing. What is going on here? There's a weird dynamic going on, right? And when for example, when the likes of Saddam Hussein was in charge of Iraq, this is something that I've done a lot of work on. The history and archaeology in Iraq was golden, right? There was a case where 18 people looted an archaeological site in Iraq, and they executed every single one of them because the history and archaeology to Saddam Hussein's Iraq was vitally important to keeping people's sense of identity together, right? And then after the war, the illegal war in 2003, people's identity in Iraq disappeared, right? It went out the window. It's only now that it's starting to come back together again. They've had to deal with ISIL in 2014 along the way, where you're blowing up places in Mosul and all these different things that are going on. And but this is why lots of people were actually saying, "Oh, hang on a minute, we did something wrong in 2003. This is what happens." And now what we've got to do is these people are trying to reconnect with their identity. The thing is, what ISIL did in 2014 was to destroy people's connection with the past, right? When you destroy people's connection with the past, they've got no identity. And without any identity, you can reshape them into the mold of how you want to create, right? But strangely enough, that's never happened in China, right? That's never happened in Turkestan, where you've got these beautiful buildings. That's not happened in lots of countries. So what? And it's not happened in Egypt either. So you've got to really try and work out what are the common denominators, right? And it's so sad. One thing that's really sad in Britain, this is forget about Islam, forget about immigration, and forget about all that. That's not the reason, right? When we look at churches and chapels, right? In Britain, we've been moving away from our churches and chapels for the past 50 to 60 years. So many churches and chapels in Cymru, Wales are empty, right? Are deserted. They're not loved anymore. You can't blame any ethnic group on that. These are our churches, right? And it's not to do with moving away from religion, right? It's to do with we don't care anymore. We just don't care about our history anymore. We just don't care about it. Me and Michelle, we drive around and we see all these buildings and things, and we just think, well, why are they empty? These are beautiful buildings, and they're just allowed to collapse, and we just don't get it.
Yeah, very sad.
Oh my God, that was really deep. And I tell you what, wearing this, right, makes me feel I've got a sense of authority.
You must say you do look more authoritarian with that on.
Yeah, but the thing is, I can't play this character with a beard. So for the next month, I've got to pay Santa Claus. I got 4 dates to do Santa Claus. So and a grotto. So yeah. So and then I can shave all this off, and then I can play this role. Right. Okay, then you'd be no good as a Nazi, Will. Right. Anyway, thanks for that, Anne. Anything you'd like to say, Will?
Have you heard of Thomas Codrington, Roman Roads in Britain?
Thomas Codrington, yeah, he's a well-written writer of Roman roads, and Codrington. Are we talking about the 1700s with that, aren't we, or the 1600s?
1903.
I thought it was so much earlier. Right. Anyway, so
died in 1918. But I would recommend
I made that. Got that wrong.
Hathi Trust. Search Hathi Trust, HATHITRUST. Look for anything, any subject you want, and you're going to see periodicals, published books from well-known writers, historical, all kinds of stuff. I keep finding little tidbits that of great interest, and they take me down a side path, unfortunately. I've got some great photographs from the 1800s of Caerleon, which are not on the Caerleon's published website, Roxeter, and various other Roman remains when I was searching for Gallagher. And these are photographs. If you have time and you can persuade the Welsh government to pay you, maybe you can go to the University of Wales and have a look at the photographs that they have from the digs in Gallagher, because they've got lots of them, and I've only been able to extract about 10 or 12 or 15. But the history's there. I noticed in Drina's photographs there, the circular capstones on the floor in Gettiger, in the Roman baths, in the photograph, the circular capstones on the floor in the baths as a supporting structure. So buttresses, which they used at the Acropolis or the Parthenon. You see the flying buttresses, which were introduced for the Gothic churches, Roman adoption.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, thanks for that. Thank you. So hopefully, if you need anything specific from the library, then you need to get in touch with me, because I do have contacts there. So have a chat with me about that again, Will. Anyway, thank you for that. Oh, by the way, it wasn't Drina, it was Judith's images. But then again, we can just accuse Drina of this anyway, because oh, don't apologize. Drina laps it up because she's a goddess. Oh, by the way, Judith, you're occasionally a goddess when you send me photographs. So so's Michelle and Margaret and every other woman on these things. Right. So, Drina, anything you want to say?
No. Thank you. Very interesting.
Drina, if I knocked your door in a full dress uniform with my cocked hat, would you invite me in for a cup of tea?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Oh, you see, I'm in there. Roger, you can come up with me that day.
Yeah, I'm the signed off though, Carl.
Oh, as soon as I said, Roger, anything you want to say?
No, I said it covered everything. Very good.
Roger, do you like my quiff there? Is that good?
Oh, it's trendy, artistic.
You have to have your hair shaved off as well to be a German. They have their,
Oh, don't you start!
Well, I mean, if you're going to take your beard off, you'd have to take your hair off as well, wouldn't you, to be a German?
Only a little bit, okay? Just don't.
Right, see you.
Bye, Rog.
Bye, Roger.
Yeah, see you, Rog. See you in 10 years, Rog. Take care.
Okay, that'll be nice. Good. There we are then.
No, Rog.
Bye.
Right, Margaret. Go on, Rog. Go away. You're still there. Try, Rog. Anyway, anything you want to say, Margaret?
Well, you covered a lot of interesting things. It was very good. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Good. And it's good to be back.
Good to be black. Is it good to be back?
Back. Oh my God! I've been very thingy tonight. Back.
Have you heard of the Roman road that goes? It's called High Street. That goes from Ambleside very high up, and I think it goes to Penrith. It's called High Street.
Tommy used to talk about that.
Yeah. They've been looking at it recently, a couple of years ago, looking for evidence. I think about 100 years ago, they found evidence of a metalled road back in the 1800s. But I think now it's so very exposed up there. I think they just find hollow areas where they don't know exactly where it runs. And I think it's just worn away.
Can I just, have you finished with that point?
Yeah.
Well, can I just make one thing? I think firstly we need to redefine what a Roman road is in Britain, right? Because when what we see is like this they've got this cutting, this straight cutting going across the landscape with like a little gravel layer. Then you've got more heavier layer. Then you've got pebbles. Then you've got slabs, and you've got a ditch either side, right? That's really not what Roman roads were in Britain. So I think we need to redefine what a Roman road is. As soon as people start to say this is what a Roman road is, then I think we can respect them a bit more, right? I remember. I wish I'd have known what I do know now, right? About 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, I took a group of people up to the Brecon Beacons, right? And obviously I didn't have the years of stuff that I've got now. I took them up to the Brecon Beacons, and on the map it said San Helen, right? So I thought, right, we'll take him up to this, right? And I thought when we were looking for a Roman road, we were going to find a tiled surface and a ditch either side, right? And we couldn't find this at all, right? So we stood in the middle of between a gate, and there was like a little hollow going across the landscape, and I thought, oh, we can't find it. That's what the Roman road was.
Yeah,
it was that hollow.
Yeah,
it was a hollow.
That's what it was. My address was the Watling Street at one time, and it's very, very, very different kind of road.
Yeah, that's where Boudica was defeated at Battle of Watling Street.
Yeah,
it was probably you,
allegedly. Yes,
alleged. Shut up, Andy. So I want to do Boudica soon anyway. But the point is with all of this, is that I wish I'd have known what I do now know, because I could have gone with the maps and said, this is the Roman road. And, we're connecting with the Roman road. I got really upset and I said, I can't find it. I did find it. It was there in front of me. But it was just a hollow. The one thing that we do know in Cymru Wales is that we see lots of roads that are named the Sarn Helen, right? There's one in Getli Gaia, there's a Sarn Helen. There's one in Neath, there's one in North Wales, there's loads of them, right? And it's just basically a roadway for Helena, who was the mother-in-law for Constantine the Great. But anyway, the point is that we've got to redefine what a Roman road is, and as soon as we can say that's a Roman road.
What was the significance of the tripod route in Athens? What was the tripod thing all about? I think I missed that.
It was a trophy, I think. Was there some kind of competition and they won it as a trophy?
Triumphal trophies. It was basically associated with those people were they had a monument erected to them as sort of a triumph. It was a triumph, not a tripod, a triumph.
Oh, right, yeah.
I mean, basically people had a triumph. So if better definition is when Julius Caesar said that he'd conquered Britain, he had a triumph through the streets of Rome. It's the triumph. So he had like an event in Greece. They had a monument. It's an award. So David Beckham is being knighted as a sir, right? That's a triumph. It's the same thing. It's an award.
Oh, I see.
So basically, you win a battle, you have a triumph erected. But in the Roman world, I've actually shot myself in the foot, because Emperor Trajan's triumph was the column. That was his triumph. That was his memorial. There's a different way of interpreting what a triumph is, but in Greece at that stage, you were this great athlete. You had a triumph,
like a gold medal.
Yeah, but in stone.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Or if you're Terry Jones, you have a monument erected in North Wales, naked at a piano, and people can sit next to you, touching your bum cheeks in bronze. That's Terry Jones's monument. Yeah, Colwyn Bay, I think it is. Michelle wants to go up there because she always liked Terry Jones's bum.
Yeah. I bet she does.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with full nudity sitting next door to Terry Jones alongside the piano, is there, Andy? Anything you want to say?
No, absolutely not. There's no problem with that at all. I remembered when you mentioned Otzi, I'd forgotten that I found out something new about him the other day. I was watching something and I thought, we've seen Otzi, we've read the book, we got the T-shirt, and they'd done some analysis of his stomach contents, and through pollen analysis, and how far down the tract it was, they'd worked out that he'd gone up the mountain and then come back down again to a lower level, and then gone back up again in the space of 24 hours.
Wowza.
So this was relating to his injuries, because he got he got that arrowhead in his shoulder.
Yeah.
And also they now discovered that he's got defensive wounds on his hands. So he'd had some altercation somewhere at some point with somebody, but they were trying to work out his where he'd been and what he'd been doing. And as I say, through analysing the pollen, they'd worked out that and the time it was how far down his digestive tract it was. They worked out that he'd gone up part way and then come back down again to lowlands and then gone back up again to the highland before he got caught out by the weather and possibly exhaustion as well. So, and obviously loss of blood. But yeah.
They've also discovered that his grandparents were from Anatolia.
Oh, I didn't know that, but that's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Learning things all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the events of a woman, right? Because that's what a woman does to you. She says, "Oh, yes, okay, just come back, it's fine." She sits you down for a meal, and then she flares up again, and you then go running out the house, and it's a woman. It was a woman that did that to him. She said, "Oh, poor old Otzi, I haven't seen him again. He can't be bothered to come back. He just wandered out on this mild argument," and she was a redhead as well.
Well, he had good clothing and good gear. Maybe he just didn't pay his bill.
Well, you can imagine. I sewed all those repairs on your top. You've got no appreciation for what I do. Oh, you've got 5 children with me, blah, blah, blah. He had just had enough. And what happened, right? Take your bloody arrow with you. And she chucks it and it lodges in the back of his neck, in his shoulder blade.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
But with the rest of his kit, they were assuming, therefore, that, because he hadn't had chance to repair it and rebuild stuff, that he was in the middle of something. So...
Yeah, his missus refused to repair his quiver. There's a whole story here.
That's one interpretation, yes. But I thought that was interesting that because of now, what 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they had no way of analysing any of that stuff. So,
and it's so good that they're able to go back to it. I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, because he's carefully frozen what's left of him. Yeah. So,
but they didn't do that with the St. Bede's guy.
No. Well, I don't. What did they do with him in the end? They reburied him, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I don't want to go there. It was just too traumatic.
Yes.
Well, it was for the school children that had to see it all, wasn't it? That would have been horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a shame. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and I think we've come a long way in British archaeology, but it's just like it's still.
There's a few stories like that, though, aren't there? When they found what's his name? Oh God, the guy with the golden mask that they took that off. Agamemnon, yes, yeah.
In 1876, yeah. Well, fair enough, but you can't. Hang on a minute. That was a long time ago. That wasn't in the 1980s.
Yeah, but that was same problem though, wasn't it? The beautiful preservation, and as soon as they took the mask off, it just all went. But...
Exactly. Oh, and Andronicus's find at Vergina when he opened Philip II's tomb. There was the description that there was a vase on a table, right? And as soon as they opened the vacuum, right, the flowers just collapsed.
Yes. Yeah. Just went to dust, didn't they? Yeah.
Exactly. Didn't they could have photographed it, but they didn't know what was there. So and it just makes you wonder what was actually when it was originally opened by Howard Carter in the tomb of Tutankhamun.
Yeah.
There's so much of that, and obviously the one thing about the Tutankhamun's tomb is that Howard Carter never completed the report.
Yeah. That's just been fully opened, hasn't it? Tutankhamun's tomb.
Yeah, it's been in the news, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just recently.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally,
field trip.
Yet another.
I did say that Margaret, in the official notes from last week, she was elected to run and pay for her entire trip to Pompeii and all the rest of it.
Yeah,
well,
that's great.
She can stretch to a little bit to the Valley of the Kings as well.
Pyramids of Giza, you said.
Yeah, but I would do. Oh, well done. I'm glad you offered to do that.
Pyramids
Thanks, love.
of Giza. Yeah.
Well. Apparently, me and Drina and Michelle are going to have a shared room.
Well, that's an archaeological tour, isn't it? There's a business to set up there, isn't there?
What, me and Drina and Michelle in a room? Yeah, that's good. Excellent. We'll do that.
Well, maybe one or two others make it more economical.
Well, Anne and Margaret joins us. That's fine. We'll have them all. Anyway, finally, Judith, Judith would have been my ideal woman, taking photographs, not actually paying to go in. She's been brilliant. Right, Judith, anything you want to say?
Oh, just quickly about Athens and the roads. Between Athens and where the ancient port was, there was, I can't remember if it was 70 or 90, but it's one of those numbers. Long, straight, paved road from Athens directly to the port and back again for trade and taking things to ships and bringing things from the ships to the city. And this was all before the Romans. How is that possible?
Hang on, can I just, you made it sound like, right, they built a road all the way to Piraeus, right? And then they built another road back.
No, the same road.
Oh, it was the same road. Okay, I'm happy with that, right? I thought there was two roads they built.
No, but one long, straight, paved road.
Oh, no,
the
Romans built that before the Greeks.
Ah, that's it.
No, they didn't.
No, before the Romans went in a time machine, they built the road for the Greeks, and then
that's the only way that could have happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Aren't
right.
these lessons so accurate? I mean, we can believe every word, can't we?
Okay, guys, can I explain something that just went over everybody's head? Hang on a minute, I just got to explain something, right? Hang on. You none of you spotted it. You just allowed me to talk, right? Doesn't that coin look absolutely genuine? The Sphinx Colours coin. What?
Such a big pointy nose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Big, big hook nose.
Yeah, that is genuine. Basically, this is the Roman Emperor Sphinx Colours who reigned for one single day in the year 476, right? And it's based on archaeological fact. Only one coin was ever found in regard to the Emperor Sphinx Colours, and there it is.
You'd open a can with that nose, couldn't you?
Maybe they didn't like him.
Which?
Yeah, it's a pointed nose, definitely.
Ever so slightly.
No, yeah, we'll leave Sphinx Colours to another week. If yes, that's the sphincter. Anyway, right. Anyone got anything else to say before we finish?
No.
Did I miss? Did you do a thing about China whilst I was away?
No, we didn't at all. No, we did a whole lesson on it, but it wasn't nothing much to look bring home about. You could have watched it. It was on the link. You had the link.
I was too busy having a good time. I was too busy being a witch. I was busy being a witch.
Of course. Yes.
On Halloween.
Yeah. No, you were too busy just being your normal self.
I was saying to my son-in-law is Spanish, and he grew up in one of these little white mountain villages. That even today they can't have cars up there. And I said, Dad, I bet you really had fun when it was Halloween. And he said no, because it was a fascist regime. They were not allowed to have anything like that. They were not allowed to enjoy themselves in any way.
Hang on a minute. Well, that back in before 1976.
In the night, yeah. When Franco was in charge.
Oh, right, so you're talking about recently. Oh, right.
No, when he was a little boy in his little mountain village. And you know that Franco wouldn't allow women to work. They just had to stay at home and do the cooking and the cleaning. They were not allowed to be professors in a university. They were not allowed to work. They just had to stay home. And that's so recently, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, 1976. The Phalangists. Anyone who has a political party called the Phalangists, you've got to be very suspicious. You know,
we're going to start a political party. He made that up, right? This is the thing, Frank. It was like one side and the other side, and Franco thought, oh right, what should I? Yeah, should I be a fascist? Oh, right. Oh no, I won't. I'll be a phalangist. Or I'll be right wing. He just made it up as he went along. You know, Mussolini started off as a socialist. Mussolini was a member of the Italian Socialist Party, right? And
Comrade
then he
Mussolini.
and then and he just thought, right, Mussolini, shortened Musso, means donkey. Right, so basically, what happened this happened a lot in Rome, right? There were lots of plaques in the streets saying, Mussolini built this, Mussolini did this, right? So instead of getting rid of the monuments, all they did was they carved off the other bit, the Lini bit, and it said Musso, right? Musso built this, and it was just like the donkey built this, and this is what they did. It's true. Honestly, it's true. It's just that we've got to bring this full circle, right? I always thought that if Adolf Hitler had survived, he was brilliant in the film The Dictator, right? He could have been a great actor. But was he in the film Dictator? There you go. It was Charlie Chaplin, wasn't it?
Yeah, Charlie Chaplin looked just like him.
Exactly. And he had the same moustache. This is the thing that didn't work out.
Yeah.
So, but mind you, so did Stalin.
Yeah, don't shave your tash.
Oh, it would look really good. It would look really good, though, wouldn't it? No, I'm not going to do it.
Don't bring that look back. It wouldn't be popular.
No. And Andy's thinking about doing it. It'd be me and Andy. Our missus would just chuck us on a desert island together. I'm sure that island by you, Andy, would be perfect. Claire would come and visit us every day with them.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of work on that. It'd be ready soon. Yeah.
Good. Don't give us any ideas. Right. Okay. Anyone else got anything else they want to say?
I won't be here next week.
Oh no.
Oh, not again.
I'm going to the ballet. I've never been to a ballet before.
Ooh.
It's the Ballet of Havana. So
Ooh.
I think it'll be a bit different.
Yeah.
Well, it's not in Spain, is it?
Comrade.
It's in Blackpool.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, I'll give you love to I won't say who. But anyway, anything else anyone wants to say?
No.
Well done.
No, thanks.
All right then. Well, I'm going to call it a night. And you know what? No matter all our efforts, it's 2 minutes past frigging 10.
I haven't even had my tea yet.
Oh no!
Oh dear!
Exactly. I haven't even I haven't even sung Baldrick his good night song.
Oh, poor old Baldrick.
Baldrick, yeah, he gets his cuddles. Anyway, we're going to call it a night. So thanks very much for joining us tonight, Drina, Will, Anne, Margaret, Judith, Andy, the Pope, David, and Roger, and we'll see you all next Tuesday.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Night.
Good night.
Night. Margaret wants to be left alone with me. Maybe not. Anyway, night, guys.
If you ever get to Gatligair, consider
You're still there.
the cemetery. The cemetery in Gatligair. I bet you there were Roman remains found in the cemetery.
Yes, there were.
If you were to look at the whole length of cemetery around the periphery of the camp, I would suggest you will find Roman remains because they probably had a cemetery back there in 200 AD.
Yes.
CE. Marvelous.
I tell you what, the molehills would be great.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
All right then. Night, Will.
All the very best.
Night.
Right.
Anyway, thank you very much, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'm just going to look in the chat box if there's anything. I got to go. So Amaro Heed, nothing there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nothing that book. 8, 9, 10.
and nothing there. 1, 2, 3. Diolch yn fawr i chi. Ymor o hyd.